Hey everyone, and welcome. If you've ever had that dream of starting a podcast, but immediately got bogged down thinking about all the details, well, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to cut right through all that noise. We're building a clear, step-by-step blueprint to get your show launched and out into the world.
But before we dive in, let's just tackle the big one. What is the number one hurdle that stops so many amazing creators before they even start? It comes up constantly, and honestly, the answer has nothing to do with fancy gear or having a ton of followers.
And there it is, perfectionism paralysis. You know that feeling, right? The idea that every single thing, the music, the artwork, the audio quality, has to be 100% perfect before you can hit publish. But here's the secret. It never will be. And that's totally okay. This is all about taking smart, strategic action, not waiting for some magical, perfect moment that, let's be real, is never going to come. So, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the biggest strategic choice you have to make. Then we'll walk through a 30-day pre-launch countdown. After that, it's all about creating buzz on social media, looking at the analytics that actually matter, and finally, how to dodge those rookie mistakes. Okay, first things first, this is a huge decision that kind of sets the tone for everything else you're going to do. Before you even think about recording, you need to decide how you're going to launch. Are you going to go for a big, noisy splash, or are you going to do a more quiet, controlled start? And that brings us to the two main strategies, the soft launch versus the hard launch. I know they sound kind of similar, but trust me, they are worlds apart in what they're trying to achieve. Figuring out which one is right for you is step one. Think of a soft launch like a dress rehearsal for a play. You're releasing your first few episodes, but only to a small, trusted group, maybe your email list or a private Facebook group. The goal here isn't to get 1 million downloads. Nope. It's all about getting honest feedback. Is the audio weird? Is the intro too long? This is your golden opportunity to iron out all the kinks before you go wide. A hard launch, though, that's a whole different animal. This is opening night. This is your big premiere. It's a full-on public release with a ton of promotion behind it. The goal here is to make a massive splash, get on those new and noteworthy charts, and generate as much buzz as you possibly can right from day one. It takes a lot more planning, for sure, but the payoff can be huge. All right, so once you've picked your strategy, it is time to get to work. Those 30 days right before you go live, they're absolutely crucial. This isn't about scrambling at the last minute. It's about methodically building a rock-solid foundation for your show's success. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, why would I try to build an audience for a podcast that doesn't even exist yet? And you know what? It's a great question, but understanding this concept is a complete game changer. I mean, think about it. Launching to an empty room is basically just shouting into the void. But if you launch to even a small group of people who are already hyped up for your show, that's instant momentum. They listen on day one, they share it, they talk about it, and that creates social proof. It's that signal to everyone else that, hey, this is something worth checking out. So what does this actually look like? It's all about a strategic ramp up. A month out, you're locking in your brand and your first episodes. 3 weeks out, you start dropping little teasers. Then, with 2 weeks to go, bam, you release the official trailer. That final week is just an all-out blitz to get everyone excited for launch day. See how each step builds on the last? It's like creating a wave. And speaking of launch day, here's a super important pro tip. Launch with a batch of episodes, at least 3, maybe up to 5. Why? Because you want to hook people immediately. Giving them a bunch of episodes to dive into encourages binge listening, which is the fastest way to turn a casual listener into a dedicated fan. So, you're doing all this great work behind the scenes to build up hype. But how do you get the word out? Well, your social media is your megaphone, but just posting randomly isn't going to cut it. You need a synchronized plan to create real buzz. The trick is to treat your social media like you're telling a story, one that perfectly matches your 30-day timeline. You start with a big announcement. Hey world, I'm starting a podcast. Then you build that excitement with little clips and behind-the-scenes teasers. The trailer release is a major event. That final week countdown creates a ton of urgency. And then on launch day, you make it super, super easy for people to click and listen. So, you did it. The podcast is live. Episodes are out. People are actually listening. It's an amazing feeling. But how do you know if your launch is really working? It's time to look at some data, but only the data that tells you what you actually need to know.
It is so easy to get lost in a sea of numbers, so let's just focus on the big three. Downloads. That's your initial reach. How many people are checking you out? Subscriber growth tells you who's in it for the long haul. But the real secret weapon, the metric that tells you the most about your actual content, is audience retention. So why is this one so important? Because it tells you how much of an episode people are actually listening to. Look at this. A high retention rate, like 85%, that tells you your content is compelling, it's keeping people hooked. But a low rate, that's a huge red flag that people are bailing early. It's the most honest, direct feedback you will ever get on what's working and what's not. We have covered a ton of stuff that you should be doing, but it's just as important to know what not to do. Honestly, the fastest way to have a great launch is to learn from the mistakes so many others have made before you. We've already hammered on perfectionism, so we can check that one off. The next biggest mistake? Not promoting before you launch. That's why our 30-day countdown is so vital. You also have to know what comes next. Don't just launch and then disappear. And a couple of technical things. Make sure your analytics are set up from day one. And please, make sure your messaging is consistent everywhere. And there you have it, a strategic blueprint to take your podcast from just an idea to a real live show. You've got the strategies, you've got the timeline, you know the pitfalls to avoid. The plan is right there. So really, the only question left is, what story are you going to tell?